Hello there everybody, you are the audience! My name is Supersonic Blah. It's been a very long time since I've done any of this kind of content, but I feel that it is probably the best for me to do this by vocals rather than with just Twitter. It's not a good idea to do it through just Twitter because it's very easy to misconstrue points and or lose meaning, and words are difficult, so let's go through this, and let's talk about this shambles that you can currently see on the screen. This is PTS, so this is not technically a final build, but let's talk about this shamble. First of all, yes, it's the RWBY collaboration. I was ecstatic to see such a thing, and I came into this with somewhat high hopes. I saw that there were two companies which both wanted to bring something meticulously fantastic and well constructed and put together into this game. That's on me for thinking that, but we'll move on from that point here. First thing that you'll notice, the models look... they look like Japanese knockoff statues that you bought for about a third of the price that you should have done, and it was online and it was kind of a dodgy site, but it was really cheap and the picture they showed was pretty good, and then you get it and it's this, and it's also like 3 inches tall, so yeah, that's kind of how the models look. Like, they look like the outfits look okay, but yeah, don't look at things too much. We'll also ignore Gamble Shroud not moving at all, or most of the second part of the ribbon. We'll ignore that. Also, we'll ignore the boogie board as well. That's kind of irrelevant. But, you know, model translations, fair enough. It's not going to be perfect one for one. I get that. But, at the same time, let's go and, where are you? Daji! Alright, so, you know, the whole anime thing, it's not really super doable as well. You know, it's kind of difficult. You know, the models, they're more anime, they're more inclined for those sorts of things. You know, we can't really do the cell shading sort of situation, so we didn't want to do that. So you know, we can ignore that. You know, it's kind of difficult to do on different things. You know, it doesn't really suit the style that's going on for any of this stuff. So let's not do that. Why has this art style not been used for this? Like, don't get me wrong, I get that. Excuse me, coughing. I have a cough, so if there's any blank space, that's me editing coughing. I get that, you know, it's new characters and new character models, but why not just pull it back a notch and put, like, just a slight edge on things? Give it some slight edge. Now, admittedly, that may have been done, and it may have looked worse, but I find that hard to believe, personally. There is a lot of detail, but it is also a lot of detail that has sort of been smushed away. For example, let's go and have a look at RWBY, who is Thanatos. We can talk about that in a bit. But we'll start it off. First of all, let's just look quickly at Thanatos' base model. We have 4-winged, nice, big, thick, burly, chunky, almost armor-esque style situation. Demon floating, nice and black in coloration, all looks good. Now let's have a look at RWBY, who is an 18-year-old girl. First of all, again, the face is a no. Second of all, no. Crescent Rose, just no. They butchered you, and it's not even as if you could see it, and it's in the, you know, it's in the, you know, the card, because it's clearly not. But, you know, don't worry, these skins are the best that they can possibly be, and Rooster Teeth signed off on these, so, you know, I can't put all the blame on you know, Titanforge here. This was signed off on, so, you know, the floating, whatever, they don't want to learn how to rig to change the animation, whatever. The hand-holding stuff, here's the problem with a lot of this. These arms are skinnier. If you just look as a quick comparison, again, Thanatos, massive thick arms. What we've got here is a model that is still trying to represent having massive thick arms, and that's simply not the case. From the back, it just looks like Play-Doh. This cape looks like Play-Doh, and it moves like Play-Doh and plasticine. So it's really difficult to really get anything here. Let's jump in. Let's actually jump in and have a little bit more of a look at this. So jungle practice. It's the easiest way that we can sort of get a good look, spend a bit of time going over these skins. So. Excuse me. Again, let's get in. So, it's RWBY. It's Lindsay Jones. You make of that what you will. Some people like her voice, some people hate her voice, some people couldn't care less. I'm in the camp of it fits the character and their actions. Usually, here though, it's a little bit jarring, but hey, each to their own. You got the original voice actors. I'd expect nothing less. Card art looks nice. The cards, the backgrounds, every other part of this bundle looks and feels really good. Music-wise, I'm sure it's fine. So, let's have a look at this then. Let's have a look at this skin. So, like I said, first of all, it is way too thin. Second of all, as you can now notice, it's literally just take base model Thanatos and base animations and everything else and slap RWBY's sort of skeletal structure into it. Yeah, no. And you'll see why this doesn't work in but a moment. So, it's mostly in the idle animations. Now, some of the idle animations do work, and they are okay when she actually wants to do the idle animations. Come on, you can do an idle animation. Do an idle animation for me. So, again, we get this, we hold the scythe, it looks kind of, again, really weird in this pose, because her arms kind of look like a bent straw. Like, it just, again, it's too thin because we're going from big, thick, metal-plated arms to, a very thin model here. So, it's not particularly grand when you look at it. Again, Crescent Rose, I'm sorry for what they've done to you, but I don't see why it had to be this way. They spent so much time talking about how these skins went back and forth and making sure they were as great as possible, but at the same time, you've just slapped these skins onto the base models. That's not taking as much time as you can to make these skins as best as possible. That is doing the bare minimum to get these skins to happen. So again, we've got this animation, which is just the bowing, whatever, floating. He's god-awful and absolutely shouldn't be a thing. I don't know why she's keep bowing. There are other idle animations that Thanatos can do, and now they don't want to do it. Oh, that's a shame. But no, there's one. I'll throw up a picture. Here we go. So here's something. There it is, right there. Look at that. Look at that. See that? That is another example of you have the massive arm shoulder plating, and then that happens. That's not really great. Also, as well, think about Thanatos' 3. Now, why does Thanatos 3 work when he's got his nice, bigger model? Because you have the 4 wings, you have the big, bulking arms, so that you have a little bit more effect to it, and the sound is pretty great. When RWBY does it, T-pose. You just T-pose. Because there's nothing on the lower legs, which, goes with the moving the legs open, and you just have the arm go, her left arm just go, and that doesn't make any sense. Like, you could throw in a petal storm here, like throwing petals coming out like the back of her arms, like the back of her cape or something. Have the cape like fly up. But no, this hood on this cape does nothing. It's just here, and like I said, oh, there it moved. It actually moved. Holy shit, I didn't even think it could move. Let's be real here. I didn't think that cape actually moved. That's how little it actually moves. It moves a little bit during the basic attack animations, and they are pretty fine. The art's pretty good, it looks pretty good, it feels pretty good. Everything else feels pretty okay. I mean, like I said, it's not too bad. The 2 has next to no animation on it, aside from the slight red on the red scythe, so it's very difficult to tell when Thanatos is moving. Again, I'll double check, I'll put a comparison side by side here between what normal Thanatos and this Thanatos does, but there is next to no additional animation signaling that there is anything here. So, the 1, yeah, it's the base sound effect, there's a slight difference to it, so it works. The 2, again, there's a slight noise, and you know, there's a slight animation sound. It's all fine. It's all fine. Then we have, I thought I reduced cooldowns. Anyway, then we have the 3, which I've gone over. You need something on the left-hand side because there's nothing, and it looks awful, to say the least. Animation-wise, this all feels fine. The global is pretty nice. It's a bit weird because Tom's not actually doing anything. It's just there, standing next to it, spinning. So there's no actual animation outside of the scythe spin, which is kind of weird. And alright, whatever. I'm sure it's a global emote, so it doesn't have to mean, or a special emote, so it doesn't have to mean much. But this! What is this? And then we have the sound effect. No nice high-pitched screech, just a quiet So, okay, there's a couple animation-y things that are a bit weird. It's a bit quiet on some of the areas, but okay, you know. It's RWBY, she was Thanatos, it made sense because, you know, she's got a scythe, so we could do that. No, we will take a skin for a skin because a scythe is a scythe. So, the next skin is the one which I will 100%, I will stand up and say, you know what? This is the right choice. I personally wanted Hera for Weiss, and having seen this, I can see this is better. I will concede this point. Freya was the better choice, having seen how it's worked so effectively. Freya. Will not change that idea. I agree. I am in camp Freya. Weiss Schnee. So there's Weiss. Now Weiss's model again does look pretty good. It's very fitting. Everything seems well. Freya sits fairly nicely for this, especially with the rework that she's gone under. So I can't have any faults with that. That's all fine. Her animations genuinely do look the best. So again, everything fits here. Everything fits. The animation cycle's great. It fits. Even if it is base Freya, that's totally fine. What I do have an issue with is that right there. That's basic attack. Like this works. This works. That works. That works. That works. That works. It's the uppercut. The uppercut just, it doesn't look like any upward swings feel really weird because she shouldn't be upward swinging. It's supposed to be in front of you in the arc. But the upward swings end up making it feel really weird for when you should and shouldn't be hitting stuff. So because of that, it's kind of weird. Then we get the 1, which again, these upward swings should not be a thing. Like, Freya and the upward swings, a no. This looks great. The little icicles, it all looks good. The glyphs come out, and I think it looks great. I think that works. It does work, and I will eat humble pie on that. It works. It looks good. Everything else about this skin is great. There is, like I said, the one thing I have on this skin is these upward strikes. No, they need to not be upward strikes. You know, this looks great. Sounds a little quiet, but, you know, everything else, these are the classic Freya sounds that we're expecting. Does she still have old? Yeah, she does have old Bracing Glamour's Blessing. And the ult, totally fine. Everything about this skin is what is good. This is what I would and should be the baseline for going into this. There's a couple little niggles, but, you know, everything else totally fine. It fits, everything's good. The skin itself looks fine. It could be in the better art style, but this is one of the few ones that works because it is fairly light on a lot of detail and everything. It's just sort of the flowing dress and the upper jacket, I think, with the riffles, and the hair. The hair looks great, don't get me wrong. The hair is great, and that sort of things. The VXG, this is one that works, again, because you've got this constant movement. The glyphs as well, for the, I think that's technically gravity, is that one right there? But it works, everything here works. This is fine. This is what I would say as this should be the standard for a crossover skin, is this. Let's move on now to quite simply the biggest mistake of this entire entire crossover. And that's saying something. The next two are fairly polarizing for this entire thing. That is Blake Belladonna as Amaterasu. Now, fair enough, Amaterasu is a great god. She, with the animations, looking back at what Dukersloth has said, the animations, the fast-flowing movement is definitely something that makes a lot of sense for one of the characters, with their movements, with their attacks. However, Blake Belladonna has some of the worst possible animations, sound effects, and general design I have ever seen go into one of these kinds of skins. And by one of these kinds of skins, I mean any skin. First of all, like I said, the boogie board. We'll ignore that because it's now there. I'm sure this is something relevant, but there's the boogie board. So we have the boogie board, it's the mirror. Whatever, it's irrelevant. Again, we're not going to talk about the model. I've expressed my point of view on the models and how they kind of look like cheap knockoffs. So we are just going in for how the skin actually feels, plays, and looks.
There's too much wrong in this world to just stand by and do
So again, yes, fairly...
corruption.
The voices, again, love them, hate them, whatever. They're literally from the show. So the one, you know, you've got the nice thing down the bottom. As with every Amaterasu skin, it's not, unless you know what stance the person is in, you just don't know. But sound-wise, I'll wait till all the sound effects go across. But in terms of illuminating strike, so you get that nice little aura. It's 30 radius. It's definitely useful. It's one of the most important parts of her kit, especially from an enemy's point of view. You have to know where you can stand, how you can stand, what the range is, all those kinds of things, and who has it from a distance. You want to be able to see that. So, basic attack-wise, yeah, it's all totally fine. But the one...
We can do this together.
There's a little bit of a sound, you know, there's the sound cue that Blake herself makes, which... there are some for Amaterasu as well, so can't be too problematic about that. But it's the sound effect. Way too quiet. 100% way too quiet. It's not loud enough. It's not high enough in pitch. It's the same with other skins. It just doesn't make a sound. That is bad. The passive. Yeah. You made a purple passive. The color of the conquest floor, for the most part, is purple. How do you not get this and think this at all? How can you do that? Like, genuinely, now, I will admit, I am on medium settings right now. As far as I am aware, I will check my settings. I am on medium, because for myself, medium is something that I can stably work with. If I go too high on this... BTS crashes, so I stick on medium, and I stick on medium on normal Smite because that is something that just works well. It works decently, and I don't have to worry about frame issues. I can play on high and, you know, maximum, but I would rather just have higher DPS. DPS? Sorry, I'd always love to do higher DPS, but I'd rather have higher FPS consistently. So this is an atrocity and an affront. You can't do that. Also, as well, if you have an Odin on the enemy team, that purple glow, pretty similar to his passive. How does this get thought through? I'll tell you, it doesn't. But don't worry, these skins are as the best, highest possible quality that they can be. The two.
Have you learned your lesson yet?
First of all, overlapping sound effects or overlapping voice lines. Second of all, where the fuck is the startup ding? Now, I know it's a skin. There has to be that ding. Audio cues in Smite are some of the most important things. It's why, for the longest time, there have been issues with skins being pay to win, pay to lose. It's why, for the longest time, the Halloween Thanatos skin was never used, because when in idling, his head will occasionally pop up and start laughing, and you can hear that as the enemies. That was changed because they didn't want the skin to be paid to lose. There are skins that are quieter, and a lot of the time, you know, one of the Alien Ra's, I think it's not Solar Sentinel, but one of the like Stargazer Ra or whatever. The ult on that is so quiet you physically cannot hear it. You can't do this. There is absolutely no reason for no sound whatsoever. A slight tucker. That is pathetic. And absolutely not acceptable. The 3, it's there. It's way too quiet, but it's there, sort of, so... yeah, it's kind of there, but again, it's way too far off in the background. That sounds like something you should hear. That's the level of audio you should be hearing in the jungle. Like, there's an enemy like on your blue buff, and you're at the tower line, and you hear... and you're like, oh, someone's there on my blue buff or whatever. That's the audio level you should hear. As for the ultimate...
I'm not alone.
Now, I know, that was just me doing it on the normal thing, so you get that sort of lower sound. It's not very common for it to be a low-level sound. It's usually quite high. It's like bum, 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 bam, or bum, bam, bam. What you get. This is what you get on this skin.
I'll end this.
You barely get it. It's that woo, wah, wah. You can't do that. That is pathetic. That is abysmal. Who the fuck actually sat down and said that this was acceptable? Because fundamentally, they shouldn't have. That is bad. I cannot believe that anyone who looks at this skin doesn't immediately see this. I know that the Olympians have been and they've seen these skins. I know for a fact that this is the case because I've had conversations with members of Olympians talking about, you know, what possible skins could be. They haven't said anything. They never ever said what the skins were. None of that sort of thing. So they didn't break T's and C's. Or whatever their contract thing is. Never that was that broken. So if anyone is listening to this who has any relevance to that, they haven't done anything wrong. Apart from the fact that when they have seen these skins, none of these points were addressed. How can nobody see this problem where you have a map which is predominantly purple on the ground and you make purple the color of an aura that's so faint you can barely see it when it's not purple? It just boggles my mind that you do this. And then you have the audacity to turn around and say, as fans of RWBY, that these are the shadow clones. Because you couldn't fit them in anywhere apart from on the dash. And even then, the players who are using RWBY, using the Blake skins, don't actually get to see it. What's the point? What's the actual point? At this point, you could have made any god Blake Belladonna and turn around and said, "Oh, her clones are in her VXG. It's fine." You could have made a nemesis in this instance. Honestly, you could have made a nemesis. And you'd have had the exact same effect. Oh, she dashes and she's got the clones. You could have gotten away with it because you take the 2 parts of Gamble Shroud, clap them together, the shield. Oh, it's a shield. You know, it just comes out from nowhere. It's fine, whatever. In the same veins as some of the other things with, you know, oh, it's dust. It's dust related, so you can get away with that. You could have done that, but no. Instead, we had to go with a warrior because, oh, we need a team comp where all 4 of you can play in a team comp. Fuck off. Nobody cares. Honestly, you're not ever going to be in that situation. And if you are in that situation where 4 people are together and playing all of the skins, they're going to fuck around in arena and shit with this. You're not going to get people individually planning on playing all of the skins separately. And even if you are, why the fuck does team comp actually matter at this point? That is irrelevant and a moot point. So that is enough on Blake Belladonna. Because we still have one more skin to go. We still have one more. And that is Xiao Long. Now, Xiao Long punches things. She has a very much a boxer style. She's done kicks as well, incorporated in her thing. She is very much a kickboxer. Throwing punches, kicks, and that's fine. Now, there are a couple of gods in the game who throw punches. There are a fair few who could fit this situation. So we're looking for any god who is bare-fisted for this situation, and preferably female. Though, of course, we can always gender bend things. So going on the top row, none of those really fit. Second row, none of those really fit either. Third row, none of those really fit either. Fourth row, nope, not really. Fourth row, nope, again, not really. So let's have a look at, like, I don't know, let's just go through by tab. So any of these, well, Mercury kind of does, but might be a bit difficult to really try and agree with that one, so we're not. Oh, Raven! Raven, yeah, the god who literally is just all about punching things. Like, look at this load up. Look at this load up here when we get in. When he loads, eventually when he loads. Come on, you can load. Look at that, there's a kick. Look at that stance, really nice work. Big bulky arms. Admittedly, that's a skin, so let's look at this. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at those arm parts as well. That could be pretty good. And, you know, we've got a fairly decent stance. Everything, that fits pretty good. So, yeah, this is, no, it's Terra. Now, fair enough. It's Terra. It's a Guardian. Guardian's getting love. That's totally fine. I can respect that. However, there's nothing about Terra fits with Yang aside from, oh, she punches. That's literally it. That is exactly the same thought process as RWBY being Thanatos because they have a scythe. That's it. That is 100% it, and fair enough, it makes things simpler. It means that you can focus more on animations, you can focus more on how everything works. Now this line, again, it's a variation on a quote from the show. That's great, that's nice, that's beautiful little attention to detail. But the fact of the matter is as well, on the patch notes show, they mentioned how, oh, well, Yang's model had to be restructured because she doesn't quite fit Terra's. I'm sorry, but that line is completely irrelevant when you make the new Neath skin that is the same size as Cupid. For no reason other than, it looks weird if it's taller. No, shut up. That's irrelevant. If you're going to dick around with models like that, then if you're going to, you know, say that models don't quite match the characters, then Neath's new, whatever the hell mouse skin is, shouldn't be in the game either. The Sobek Dragon skin shouldn't be in the game either. The Kukul Khan Tier 5 shouldn't be in the game either. None of that is relevant. So, tweaking around with the models to change it to look more like Terra, which, honestly, as far as I can tell, it made it slightly taller, which is, again, irrelevant, considering the size of the model doesn't matter anyway, so you just make Yang Xiao Long taller. But it looks, to be the most part, it's just around the waist pulling that in, and the stance of the character, which fair enough, you've slapped the model on, but why Terra? Like, you've got these, so yeah. So you've got the swings, everything's fine, you know, the one, that looks pretty good, you know, she kind of dashes forward, but it's fairly basic, shall we say. Also, again, sound-wise, really quiet, but hey, there's nothing new there. So, let's go for the reduced cooldowns again. And again, just, it's really quiet on her one. No grunting, no. There we go, there's a grunt. So there's the occasional grunt. But usually it's that. It's much louder. And again, I'm great with sound effects. But, you know, super quiet and irrelevant. And now we get to the fun part. What the living Christ fuck nuggets is that? Also, as well, do you hear that really high-pitched, light, chiming sound? Yeah, that's the sound of those pillars being broken. The actual fuck is that? I'll tell you what that is. That is too quiet. That's the right volume. That's the right volume for the most part. The main sound effect, the thud, is there. So, the 3, fine. But you can barely hear anything else on her skins. The ultimate.
You can't even stop me.
There is no sound effect on this outside of a low hum. No high pitch. Whoa, 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 whoa. To no. You just get that. That is the sounds that you get. That is, again, an absolute shambles. In every sense of the word. That is a shambles. Let's have a quick look as well and see what this sounds like. Yeah. These sound effects are god-awful and get drowned out by literally anything else. You can't have that. You need sounds in the game. That is how, in the middle of a team fight, you know what the fuck is going on. Is by sound cues of things that are around you. That is why sound is so important in the game. That is why a lot of the issues that people have with Smite when it comes to skins are irregular sounds and irregular animations. For example, Chibi Fenrir, the leap on that is kind of weird and doesn't really fit right, and it's very difficult to see. For example, the Warlock Poseidon, the animation time on his whirlpool being off. Another fun one as well for Poseidon, Blackbeard. His voice lines are very loud and very distinguishable, very far off in the jungle. For example, as well, a Wheelish, her new Knight Rider-y skin. It's not Knight Rider skin, sorry. The Cyberpunk skin. Suku, the jet bike, hovers and makes a low hover sound the entire time you're on it, regardless of whether or not you're moving. That, again, is inconsistent and irrelevant and unnecessary and pay to lose. Now, pay to lose, obviously, is better than pay to win. I 100% agree with that. So, another pay to win things, for example, animation sizes. Apollo, with the Secret Agent, the basic attacks look smaller when you look at it, so it's difficult to necessarily gauge from an opponent's side of things. Why is it that we are now, 6 years in Smite's history? Technically 4 out of beta, because 2013, so, we are 4 years, and this kind of thing is still happening. I don't understand. I don't understand how we are constantly going through Smite patches where we end up with skins that have inconsistent sounds, are sloppy, lazy, and downright do not fit what they are trying to accomplish here. And yes, that is harsh. Yes, if you think that Terra was the best fit, that is fine. However, this is not. That is not acceptable. None of that is acceptable. And the same thing for Blake. Whether or not you get those skins is irrelevant in this situation. Whether or not you think that the god is the right choice is irrelevant. The way that they have been implemented to those characters is where there is an issue. That is the problem. Everything else in the bundle, absolutely everything else, is, from what I can tell, fine. Honestly, everything else is fine. The Zwei Ward, totally fine. Music, if you put music on, you listen to whatever the hell you like. I'm sure it's great. I personally don't, because again, to me, sound is a very important part of the game. So, obscuring that is kind of unhelpful in a lot of the situations. So, going through the battle pass, all the other things that are in it, totally fine. You've got, what else do you actually have that's in it? You've got a bunch of avatars, you've got the premium rewards of the loading skin. The Zwei Ward, it's pretty great. If you look at this, everything is jam-packed, and this is honestly one of the best things about a premium. Premium path. Here's the jump stamps, all that good stuff, everything. All totally fine. You've got the avatars, everything. And having this jam-packed here is beautiful to see from a premium track. This is fantastic. That is how you want to do a premium track. You've got things along the top, which you can get to as well. You can't get the skins, unfortunately, unless you're on the premium track, which is a bit of a downside and a bit of a shame. But hey, they want you to buy the premium track, so I get that. But having everything on the premium track, totally fantastic. And then you get to the second one, and again, you're getting the other Ruby Rose skin, which you've seen how I've talked about the first Ruby Rose skin. This is an exact carbon copy. In fact, it might be slightly better because she has slightly thicker arms. All in all, do I want to see this happen again? I think that if this is going to happen again, Rooster Teeth, fucking have some standards, for Christ's sake. This is your baby. This is your baby. This is what you have created. You have pulled through 7 seasons to create and spent so much time building up a community and to bring it to other things. And this is what you're okay with? Second, Titanforge. Have some fucking respect as a fan. You said it yourselves that you binge watch the show and you love, I know this is just from Tina's side of things. You've loved the show. You binge watch the whole thing. You're invested in it. You enjoy it. And yes, by all means, creating something for it is good. But don't turn around and say that these are as absolutely great as you can when they are carbon copy bits on and they are so sloppily handled that it just comes across as insulting to not only everybody who's worked on them, but everybody who you're trying to get to buy these. That's not good. So, do I want to see this happen again? Yes, I do. Team Juniper, another great lot. You still have 4 members for that team. In fact, actually, 2 of them are literally based off gods. And they're gender bent. So you have Achilles for Pyranikos, and you have Nora Valkyrie as Thor. 2 of those you can make work. Yes, Nora technically wields a warhammer, so it might be a little iffy and a little weird to try and make it Mjolnir. But I'm sure you can find a way and be creative in doing that. Pyranikos is literally a sword and a spear. You have nothing to worry about. And if you really don't feel like gender-bending Achilles, then there is always Athena if you absolutely have to shit on the source material. I mean, you've also got what? You've got Jean. Jean could very easily be Tyr. You could very easily make it King Arthur. Hell, any warrior that uses a big sword, you could get away with. Anyone who uses, gods. Let's have a quick look. You've got, let's go, warrior here. Let's look at warrior. You could run anything that wields a big sword. You could effectively get away with here. So, if you really felt like it, you could make it Hercules. Doesn't quite make sense, but you could do it. You could make it Tyr, like I said. That kind of works. King Arthur. Hey, he's a popular god. Use King Arthur for this situation. You've got options. I wouldn't recommend going into any of the other trees, but let's have a look at Assassin. There's not really one for the Assassins. There's also not one for Hunter. Ren. Dual Uzi things. There's an Apollo skin. How you work the ult? Or you could have it be a giant Grim. You could use one of the Nevermores. Have him fly off on that and sort of grab one of the legs and then jump down onto that. That could work out pretty well. We've seen him do the slide moves as well. So that could work from it. There is potential for a second battle pass that could be done. But you have to actually put some effort in. Because this doesn't look like it. And the bottom line is, yes, if you don't like it, don't buy the battle pass. But I still, despite the pain, the continuous disappointment, have some faith that you can at least get that right. And the whole thing about this is the first time this has happened. So, by all means, it's not going to be perfect. Nobody's first attempt at anything is going to be perfect. So, because of that, there is no, I'm not going to turn around and say that you did this once, you should absolutely never do it again. That is not fair to say that. Would I be upset if this was the only time it ever happens, though? No, I would not. And that will end it from here. I've rambled on long enough, and chances are no one's even going to listen to this. But hey, it is easier for me to put this in words rather than to do it through typing, where things can get more difficult to explain and in 150 characters or whatever. Either way, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. My name has been Supersonic Blur. If you do want to see any more of this, well, good luck. It's not likely to happen. But, stick around, follow me on the Twitters and all the good places, and I'll let you know what's going on with me and the stuffs that I do, and, whatever that may be. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you all around. Take care.